So, Hare Krishna, I welcome all the devotees on the early morning call today. I know who's there in the call today.
Hare Krishna Mataji and Hare Krishna to all the devotees. This is Surinder Bandari from Maryland. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Srinder Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much for joining.
Hare Krishna Mataji and Hare Krishna to all the devotees on this call. This is Geeta from Maryland. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Gita Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much for joining and your wonderful chanting.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Malini from Ashburn, Virginia. Hare Krishna to all devotees. And I also wanted to tell you that today is Janmashtami for us, for Keralites in Kerala. At Guruvayur, we follow a different calendar. So we celebrate Janmashtami today. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Malini Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much for joining for the chanting also early morning. And happy Janmashtami to you and all Guru devotees and everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Anybody else would like to announce their name?
Hare Krishna, please accept my all glories to Sri Mata and Guru Maharaj. This is Nikunjara Sadas, Germantown, Maryland.
Hare Krishna, Nikunjaras Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much for joining. And I see Vikas Prabhu also. Hare Krishna, Vikas Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Welcome to the call.
Thank you, Mataji. My humble obeisances to all the devotees on the phone call. Please.
It's a Nikunjaras Prabhu, did you start recording?
Yes, I started.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. So today we are so fortunate to have His Grace Vikas Prabhu from Canada, and Prabhuji will enlighten us on Srimad Bhagavad Gita, second chapter summary. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please take over the call now.
Thank you, Mataji. Just want to acknowledge right up front that I am not qualified to speak about chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, let alone speak about any shloka on Bhagavad Gita. But since I have been given this service, I will try my best to, reflect on what I have captured from what Prabhupada has written in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita in his purports. And I hope that right words in the right spirit at the right time will come out, and that what we discuss today will be beneficial for all of us in uplifting our spiritual consciousness. So with that, we will do our invocation prayers. Om Ajnantimirandhasya Dhyananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utpadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatan Sagan Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijansaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagan Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishvanusate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyev Cha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagvat Sevaya Bhagvati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hari Om. So before we begin our discussions on chapter 2 and summarization thereof, let's do a quick recap of chapter 1. So in chapter 1, Does anyone recall the 5 questions that Arjun Maharaj asked of the Lord? Anybody? So in chapter 1, Arjun Maharaj was basically when he asked the Lord to bring the chariot in the middle of the two armies, upon seeing his kin and kith on the other side of the battle as well as on his side of the battle, and seeing that basically the kin and kith are going to kill each other and destroy themselves, not only destroy themselves, destroy their entire family structure. He basically had uh, 6 questions or 6 things that, sorry, 5 things that came to his mind. One was compassion. So he felt compassion for everybody on the battlefield, including the soldiers, etc. Then he felt that in pursuing this war, there won't be any enjoyment. Whether they win or they lose the war, there is no enjoyment. How can you enjoy something on the backs of killing of millions of people? Not only that, he then started to think that this is going to create a huge amount of sin. And how can a sinful activity be glorious? Further, he then contemplated that with the death of so many soldiers on the battlefield, their individual families, and then further from there, their forefathers in that lineage, as well as the general society, will suffer greatly because of the loss of the say the householder in the family, and the family structures would be destroyed. Women and children will be destitute. They will be taken advantage of. And how can this at all be good for the entire society? Including, he says that the oblations that we offer to our forefathers would be stopped when the family structure breaks down. And then he basically comes to an end of this chapter by saying that, keeping his Gandiva, the bow down, he sits on the chariot, crestfallen. And then at the beginning of chapter 2, he also asks one further question. Not only on top of this general indecision, he says, how can I kill my own gurus and great grandfather? This is not good. And at the end of all of this, in verses 7 and 8 of this chapter, Arjun Maharaj actually recognizes that he doesn't really know anything. Now, it is his humility to say that he doesn't know anything and that he is confused, that he does not know how to proceed from this situation. And it's a learning for all of us. Arjun Maharaj, who was a Arya, who was a Kshatriya, had been taught by Kripacharya, by Dronacharya, and he was always under the guidance of Bhishma Pitama. Not only that, when they were young kids, before they came to Hastinapur, they were in ashramas. They had grown up as kids in various rishis ashramas. So they had all the best of uh, samskaras, as in upbringing, as well as they had the benefit of all sorts of knowledge. Arjun Maharaj thereafter grows to be a Bauman who was unparalleled in history. He has, to his credit, having defeated uh, the gods, the demigods, and including up to being equal to Lord Shiva in a fight. He had been granted a whole lot of boons by various demigods, and he was no ordinary person. So, with all of this knowledge of how a society functions, with all the knowledge around the Varna, the ashramas, the administration of a kingdom, how to dominate your enemies, how to subdue your enemies, etc. Uh, and I'm assuming in all of this is the knowledge of economics and whatnot. Every possible knowledge that a prince should have was with him. Secular knowledge as well as spiritual knowledge was with him. And yet, when faced with a situation like this, where your own family members, your own teachers, friends are in front of you, fighting against you for what you believe in, forget about what you believe in, what everybody knows to be absolutely wrong. And how do you face that situation? Generally anyone will have that feeling of detachment. So nothing that Arjun Maharaj puts out to Lord Krishna is something new to us. If we have gone through not minor but life altering sort of situations and problems, we also will come to a place where we just don't know what to do. And it is easy for me to say the easiest path, but one of the things that the mind will rationalize is, let me just walk away from all this. This is all stupid. It doesn't make any sense. If these people want to do it, let them do it. I don't want any part in this. I'm going away. And that is a very natural inclination. And therefore, it is not out of cowardice, but it is out of that complete sense of dejection that Arjun Maharaj puts his bow down. But he doesn't put his bow down without any internal contemplation. So he does a lot of contemplation. And as he contemplates, he starts to draw certain conclusions. But at the end of drawing those conclusions, his heart tells him that these are not the right conclusions. He is not happy with those conclusions. Therefore, he seeks refuge of Lord Krishna. And then he says, I am your disciple. Please guide me, because nothing that I know is helping me. I am dharma sammurchita. I don't know what my duty is, because my heart is inflicted by this karpanya dosha apahrit sabhava. So this miserly weakness that is there. And the word of use miserly is very interesting. We have discussed why that word miserly is there. But he also realizes, and in verse 8, he says this, that even if I were to win this battle, why win the sovereignty of this earth? Even if I were to rule the uh, heavenly kingdoms, I still would not be happy. So he also realizes, when faced with such life altering situations, that material opulence is of no consequence. It doesn't mean anything when you have emotional turmoil. And therefore, he is again seeking the help of the Lord. So that is how we come to chapter 2. Since Arjun Maharaj had asked these 5 questions, and then generally he says, how can I kill my own gurus? In chapter 2, the Lord answers all of these questions. It's not like a student in primary school who says, this is my question, and the teacher gives an answer, then goes to question 2 and then gives an answer. The Lord is answering all of these things in His way, because the student doesn't know what to ask and how to ask. So the Lord is giving the answers. But generally, when Arjun Maharaj was saying, how can I kill somebody? He was speaking out of compassion. And the Lord basically takes his time and elaborately, says that it's the body that is going to be destroyed. The soul cannot die. The soul is never born, neither does it die. So, what is the need for this lamentation? Your compassion is misplaced. Then, when Arjun Maharaj was saying that there is no enjoyment, again the answer is still the same: the soul cannot die. So, there is no sin. You need to perform your duty, and not performing the duty is the sin. And whether you die or live, you will still be able to enjoy either on this earth or If you die, you go to the heavenly planets and you would still be able to enjoy. But not fighting will generate infamy. And if you don't fight, you will be ridiculed and you will not be happy. So, in a comprehensive way, the Lord has destroyed Arjun Maharaja's question or confusion around, or there is no enjoyment, or there is no good that will come out of this fighting, that he will suffer sin. So, as regards sin, the Lord basically again says there is no sin because the soul cannot die. All you are doing is, in a very literal sense, the atoms that have come together to form a material body, you are basically, breaking the bond of those atoms, and those atoms will again reconfigure themselves into some other body. That is the nature of uh, this material universe. So you don't suffer sin out of that. But the Lord thereafter actually not only goes through this sort of philosophical, and what he says is Sankhya Yoga, he then starts to talk about Buddhi Yoga from verses 38 to 53. And he speaks of, working in devotional service without fruitive results. He says that Vedas basically deal with matter, and he asks Arjuna to go beyond matter. Now, this doesn't mean that we need to look down upon Vedas. So, while the Lord is saying uh, Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna, it doesn't mean that Vedas are not useful. Vedas are meant for sequential progress for the mass population, which is basically embroiled in enjoyment. So, how do you take away person's inclination to enjoy completely? They will rebel. You need to have them progress through their own consciousness, through slow evolution. And as the consciousness evolves, it gets to a better level of thinking, better level of understanding, better level of outlook. And then as their outlook starts to expand and improve, their receptivity to better knowledge will come, and thus they will then slowly be entrenched into karma will become karma yoga, gyan will become gyan yoga, dhyan will become dhyana yoga, but they need to engage themselves. So that is what Veda is doing. And for a devotee, it is okay to completely bypass Vedas, because Vedas, while they are useful, are fraught with uh, various ways to get distracted from this ultimate goal. Then he further says that for those who seek enjoyment, as, as in the karmis, the jnanis or yogis, they have a little bit of sense of enjoyment in them. The desire or determination for devotional service does not arise. I think it's in verses 44 or 45. So it is a very key thing. And we need to remember it's not only for Arjun Maharaj, it is for ourselves also. So if we have this sense of desire to enjoy, then we also will not have a very strong determination for devotional service. So that's a warning the Lord is putting out for every sadhaka like us. Then the Lord says the Vedas are like the small well. The well is there for a purpose, it serves a purpose, but the Lord Himself is, who's the creator of the Veda, is like the big reservoir of water. It can serve all purposes for everybody and yet be unlimited. The water will never run out. It is all fulfilling. You may use the well for either drinking, or there may be a well for washing clothes, etc. You can't contaminate those two. But a big reservoir of water does not get limited to what purpose it is being used for. It is still cleansing and fulfills all purposes. So that is what the Lord is basically saying in a very crude analogical way, that the Vedas are basically the small well, but if you align yourself with the creator of the Veda, which is the bigger reservoir of water, then all your purposes will be fulfilled. So basically, just listen to me. I'm the creator of Vedas, and if you do what I am telling you, then your duties are fulfilled anyways. Then the Lord moves to saying And if you work in this kind of consciousness, that is when you do your duties without expectations, you start to develop equanimity, you start to develop steadfastness, then forget about creating sin. You will actually get rid of all past good and bad deeds, as in you will get rid of all your accumulated sins. So it's not like Arjun Maharaj is thinking I am going to add maybe 5 or 10 different types of sins to my quota of sins that I have. What the Lord is saying, if you work the way I am telling you to work, forget about adding to what you have. I'm going to destroy everything that you carry, and in such a way that you will become free from the cycle of birth and death. And then he says, and therefore, once you are at that level, once you are at that Brahma Bhuta level, once you are in completely in your steadfastness, where you are not affected by matter, there is nothing more to be said or heard. And it's a very deep meaning shloka, and I will ask and urge everybody to think about what that state means. Why is the Lord saying? Because at that time there are no arguments, there is nothing to prove or disprove. You know, it proving, disproving is all part of, you know, sort of sense within us to explore, and a sense within us to tell others that I have already explored. But once you are at the Brahma Bhuta stage, all of these thoughts go away. There is no argumentation that is left. And through that, you gain divine consciousness. So this was his answer for Arjun Maharaj's all the 5 questions, and included in that is the answer that how can I kill my own gurus and great grandfather, which was Arjun Maharaj's question. So he answered all of this. Now, in some ways, I've actually gone through the summary of the chapter 2, but we need to do a systematic study, so we'll go a little bit more deeper. So various acharyas, various advanced devotees have tried to create ways for us neophytes to understand different chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So they try to create meaningful segments or compartmentalize certain sections of the chapter and say that here is one theme, and then there is a slightly different theme, and then there is a different theme, etc., so that we all can remember the whole chapter. So I'll speak of 2 different Vaishnavacharyas within our own tradition who have provided these 2 different ways to look at it. So I don't remember the name of the first Prabhu whose lecture I had heard long ago, but I had made notes. So as per those notes, one way to understand the second chapter is that verses 1 to 10 is more about more doubts. So the Lord calls this weakness or impotence, and Arjun Maharaj is basically through these 10 verses, talking about Bhishma Maharaj and Drona Maharaj and saying how to kill. He says that begging is better. It is better to be conquered than killing these people. And he's basically generally confused and asks for help. Verses 11 to 30 is more of that, analytical knowledge, Sankhya knowledge, or knowledge of the soul. So the second stream or theme within the chapter is around Sankhya knowledge. So then the Lord here explains that, you are being a fool for lamenting for the body, you are a soul. And we all are souls. We always were souls. And that life is, the bodily life is impermanent, but the soul's life is unlimited, and the soul cannot be killed. So he goes through the various characteristics of the soul through those verses. And then he ends up by saying, even if you do not believe in the soul and you think that you are the body, then the body is just a mass of cells and chemicals, as Prabhupada says. So then why are you crying for the loss of the mass of cells and chemicals? Because it is generated from food, and the food comes from this earth, and that mass will also go back to earth. So this world manifests, unmanifests, and manifests again. So whether you think of this in terms of the soul or in terms of the body, you uh, you need to perform duty. So that is the Sankhya knowledge. The Lord actually goes a little bit into Karma Kanda as per this classification of chapter 2. So 31 to 38 can be classified as a bit of knowledge of Karma Kanda, that you need to do your duty as a Kshatriya, you need to fight. Not doing your duty or not fighting is going to be sinful. You will lose your reputation, you will get into frustration, etc. So this is Karma Kanda, fruitive actions and fruitive results. But then the Lord moves to Buddhi Yoga, and by Buddhi Yoga here, it is actually Bhakti Yoga, or working in devotional service. So then the Lord from verses 39 to 53 speaks of Buddhi Yoga, that you need to work, you know, in the knowledge of the self and be fixed in the knowledge of the self. But as you are fixed in the knowledge of the self, you will still retain some taste for enjoyment. And only when you elevate the sense of what you want to taste, then you can go beyond. So, what he's saying is, you can come up to the Brahma Bhuta stage, but even at a Brahma Bhuta stage, there will be a taste to enjoy. There is a chance of fall down. So, you need to go beyond Brahma Bhuta. And this is where the Lord is hinting that you need to basically serve me. The Lord is basically saying, develop that higher taste to serve me, not this material world or enjoy this material world. Not that you enjoy as the Brahma Bhuta, because that is exactly what uh, Hiranyakashipu was. If you know the story of Hiranyakashipu, when Hiranyaks dies, he actually speaks almost all of exactly what the Lord has said in verses 11 to 30 in terms of the soul and the body, and how the body dies and the soul never dies. He speaks exactly the very same thing to his own relatives. So he had the knowledge of the self. In that sense, self is Brahma. That is what the Lord explains in chapter 8. And knowledge of his own self makes him Brahma Bhuta, but he falls into another trap. He thinks that he is the one and all, and he starts to, uh, you know, basically alter the rules of this universe. That is what is meant by keeping the demigods under his control and being the enjoyer of fruits of all the oblations to all those demigods. Is basically saying that he is controlling all those things. He is controlling the rules that operate this universe. So coming back to this point, being Brahmabhuta is not enough. You need to develop a higher taste further than that. And another example I can give you here that can help us understand what the Lord means by this is, all the four Kumaras were Brahmabhutas from beginning. But the moment they smelled the tulsi leaves at the feet of Lord Narayana, immediately they developed love for him. And that is explained in our scriptures to be hundreds and thousands of times better than what pleasure you can derive from the knowledge of the self. And now you can also understand the small well versus the greater reservoir of water, etc. There are so many things that will start to click in as you contemplate on what the Lord is saying. But then that is Buddhi Yoga. And then the last is from verses 54 to 72 is, you could say that it is the symptom of a sthit pragya, or somebody who's in samadhistha stage. So who's equanimous, who's equipoised in all sorts of life situations. So that is one way to understand chapter 2. Gaurang Prabhu actually classifies chapter 2 much more simply. So he basically says remember this as Gita. So G is for general confusion, and he again puts verses 1 to 10 as part of that general confusion. He then elaborates and says that the I in Gita stands for identity, and verses 11 to 30 basically speak of that identity. So all of the problems Arjun Maharaj had raised were that of the confusion that comes from identifying with the body. So we and Arjun Maharaj in that situation identified himself as the Kshatriya with a certain lineage in the Kaurava dynasty with his father Pandavas, with his side and the other side. And then he's thinking the body is going to die, and then he's thinking of the welfare of those individual bodies, cluster of bodies and the families as in the families, and a larger cluster of families as in the society. But he's still thinking at the bodily level. And what the Lord immediately does is he tells him, it's almost like, you meet somebody who has bipolar disease, and the person is going around thinking he's whoever. And you tell that person, no, your real identity is this. This is what you need to do because this is who you are. This is exactly what the Lord is doing to Arjun Maharaj. As soon as the Lord starts to speak like a master, the very first thing he says is, you're a fool. You're talking like a body, you are actually a soul. Think like a soul. And this is what a soul is. So that is where you can now think of verses 11 to 30 as identity within the acronym Gita. The third is T in Gita, which is basically, as per Gaurang Prabhu, he classifies that as two duties. So then the question is, if we are the soul, but we exist in this world as the body. So that's where Lord, and you can understand chapter verses 31 to 53 as some duties you have to perform as a body, because we are a body, we are in this universe, which is a material universe, existing or surviving in this universe as a material body, which is interacting with matter all the time and which is interacting with other souls through their material bodies. So there are duties that are imposed when somebody has more inclination of a bodily consciousness. So that those are called varnashram duties. And then as you progress towards the realization that you are not the body and you are the soul, and it's a continuum, it's not like you are here or there. You progress towards it. So think of this as two circles. At one point, it is complete bodily consciousness, so it is completely covering the other circle of soul. But as our consciousness starts to develop the soul level consciousness, the two circles are slightly separating themselves a little bit. There will be a commonality and there will be a separation. And as one progresses into that understanding of the soul, he starts to understand his duties as a soul. And this is where it comes. As a soul, yeah, you have nothing to do with the material universe. But as a soul, you are the part and parcel of the one who's created this material universe. And as a part of that whole, you need to serve that whole. And that becomes your spiritual duty. So, under that kind of evolution, once you are at that stage, you will start to understand your own Swarup Vyavasthiti. You will know what your Swarup is in Vaikuntha, whether you would like to serve the Lord in one of the five rasas. All of that will come clearer to you, and that is where gurus can help you, etc. So these are the two duties that are being talked about in verses 31 to 53. The duties at the bodily consciousness and the duties as a soul. And then once you're fully into the knowledge of the soul, as in the bodily consciousness circle is now fully behind the soul consciousness and the soul consciousness is extremely prominent, you become Atmaram. So verses 54 to 72 can be now understood as those verses that tell us of the person who is situated in Atmaram, who's basically enjoying at the self level, who's situated in trance of Krishna consciousness, and who's serving Krishna. So verses 54 onwards, I think 58 onwards, where the Lord says, develop a higher taste. He actually from self-consciousness, he moves to Krishna consciousness. And then the rest of the thing is how to remain in that Krishna consciousness. So that's basically a second way to summarize the second chapter. I want to bring about one particular lecture that Prabhupada gave on chapter 2, and it is very, very interesting. So Prabhupada says that there are two traps that keep us in this material world. The first trap is we think that we are a body, and the second trap is we think that we are the Lord. So first, you go around thinking that you're a body, and as a body, you try to enjoy and dominate material nature and gain as much as you can. So that is the inclination of somebody who's fully dominated by the sense of the body, that everything around it is for their enjoyment. And the second trap, the moment you realize that you're not the body and you are the soul, the second and much bigger and more difficult to destroy trap is Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahma. I am the Lord of everything. And that is the trap that is difficult to break. And the very interesting thing that Prabhupada has noted, and now you will realize how, how beautiful, how to the point, how precise is the Lord's attack on Arjuna's questions and confusion. Because in the very first two verses of the Lord speaking as the masters, because he speaks, I think, verse 3 and 4 in chapter 2, also to address Arjuna. But thereafter, when Arjun says that you are my master, guide me, the very first verse, 2:11, the Lord says, you are not the body. You're talking like a fool. You are not the body. And then the next verse, he says, we all are souls. We always were souls. We will always remain to be souls. So what the Lord here is saying is that as a soul, you were always going to remain that minute fragmental portion. Now, he's saying, if you want to read, let me bring it up. The verse is, yeah, Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipa na chaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamatah param. Never was there a time when I did not exist. So the Lord is saying, forget about you, even I have always been there, nor you, nor all these things, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So he's saying that you are going around under the bodily consciousness, but I am here fully conscious. I will be fully conscious. I was fully conscious before, I am fully conscious now, and I'll be fully conscious tomorrow. You may come in and out of this soul level consciousness, but you will never, if you truly understand what the Lord is saying is, you will never be equal to where I am, because I never am infallible. I don't fall. You, because you are minute and you are a small fragment of that reality, you are fallible. And this destroys the second trap. You cannot, if you realize that you are a minute soul, a fragmental portion of the total energy that is the Lord, then you will never get into this confusion that I am Brahmasmi, that I am one with the Creator. We can never be one with the Creator. We will always be distinct from the Creator. And that is the beauty of how Prabhupada realizes what the Lord is saying, and to realize what the Lord is saying in just two verses, the full philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. Because if you just understand these two verses, you can go straight from here Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. So verses 65 and 66. Man manabhav madbhakto madhyadi mam namaskuru, and then sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Just from 211, 212 straight to 1865, 66. So that is very interesting as to how Prabhupada looks upon chapter 2. Now, this is all knowledge. It's interesting. It tells us a lot, but how do we realize it? And this is the difference between knowledge versus realization. So we all now know that we are soul. We are not this body. But what does that mean? How can we practically understand this? Can we even come close to understanding this? Because without realizing that we are the soul, many of the things the Lord has said in chapter 2 will remain to be theory for us. So we need to get to that understanding. And as I said, trying to understand that we are a soul is not something that happens at a certain point of time. It is a continuum. Every moment we can be thinking that we are a body, or we can be thinking and acting like we are a soul. And the more we think and act like we are a soul, the lesser is the control of the body, its senses, and the pull of the objects of the senses on us. So just to give you perhaps a feeling for what it means to be a soul, be with me for about 3 to 4 minutes as I walk you through an example. Close your eyes, and if you are sitting, you are standing, whatever it is, just contemplate on the palm of your hand. So if you have a place, you can place it either on your thighs or on a table or wherever you are sitting or wherever you are at, or just imagine. Now that hand is your body, but the hand is currently resting. How does it move? Can it move itself? Now you realize that to move the hand, the blood, the bone, the muscle, the skin, none of that is helping. To move that hand, certain thought, certain channelization of the energy within has to happen. Then only that hand can move. So there is an energy that has to flow to the hand to make it move. In physics, we say potential energy moves, becomes kinetic energy at this time. So there is a energy layer. So there is the, and now I'm going to speak of Brahma Pucha and Brahma. So the soul is Brahma, and Brahma Pucha is like the tail of the pigeon. So Pucha means the tail. So the tail follows the pigeon. So soul is Brahma, and Pucha, matter, is its tail, and the matter will follow the soul. And we are trying to understand the soul from our understanding that is only rooted in the tail. So from the body, from the physical body, which is Annamaya Kosh, which is the most external level of Brahma Pucha, we now understand that energy has to move this body. So we move to the Pranamaya Kosh, which is the energy level. But even I have the energy. The energy is in that hand. Keep your eyes closed and still think through this. The energy is still in the hand. What is making that energy move? Because the energy could not move by itself. So it is my mind, my emotions, my inclination to do, to not do something is what is going to channelize that energy, which is going to channelize the bodily level. So from a Brahma Pucha perspective, the most external manifestation is the body or the Annamaya Kosh, which is channelized by the Pranamaya Kosh, which is channelized by the Manomaya Kosh, which is the mind, which is your memories, your emotions, all of that. Now, there is further control, and if you move inwards in the Brahma Pucha towards the soul, there is intelligence. So that is called the Jnanmaya or Vijnanmaya Kosh. Jnanmay is knowledge, Vijnanmay is experimentation or realized knowledge. How is Jnan or intelligence different from mind or liking, disliking, etc.? So the example here is, again, keep your eyes closed. So the hand is there, the energy is there. Now let's say there is another body right next to your body and it is the body of a snake or a scorpion. So your mind is telling you move that hand away as fast as you can. But your intelligence is now that layer which tells you, intelligence is discrimination, vivek. It makes, differentiates. This is good, this is bad, this is me, this is that. That is good or that is bad, that kind of thing. So now your intelligence is telling you that the speed with which you can move your hand is much less than the speed with which that other body can move. And if that body is able to sting me or my hand, then it is not going to be good for me. This is what intelligence is doing. And that is the further layer inside Manomaya Kosh, the Jnana and Vijnanamaya Kosh. But there is Atma in this. Atma is the awareness, the Chitta. Chitta is awareness, consciousness. Atma has three qualities: Sat, Chit, and Anand. Sat is eternality. Because we are so much into bodily consciousness, we cannot understand eternality as such. Ananda, because we are so much in misery and we think having one gulab jamun, one sense satisfied at a small point of time is Ananda, we cannot contemplate Ananda. So the only way we can contemplate our soul is through consciousness. So we need to move our consciousness now further from intelligence to awareness. Now, what does awareness mean? Awareness means that my hand is there, the energy is there, my mind is telling it to move, my intelligence is saying don't move the hand. But awareness is, it doesn't matter. There is a mass of body, mass of atoms, which is my body. There is a mass of atoms, which is the snake or the scorpion's body. There is a mass of atom that is the venom within that scorpion or the snake. And that venom is going to enter my body. Okay, it has touched my body, and within my body there is some reaction. Slowly, my pranamaya kosh is losing control over the annamaya kosh, and therefore me with my subtle body has moved out. That is what Atma is. Atma is awareness. It doesn't like or dislike the situation. It doesn't create a distinction between the snake and this body. It just understands that it is it. That's it. That's awareness. Awareness cannot be killed. This awareness that you just gained from this example cannot be killed, cannot be destroyed, cannot be cut, cannot be drenched, cannot be dried, cannot be burnt, all of that. Now you understand what the Lord is saying in verses 11 to 30 when he is speaking of the soul. Again, keep your eyes closed and think about the feet. Move your awareness to the back of your, to your back. Move it to the front of your face. And what is moving within the body, what is happening at this time is your soul. The more you remain at this level, you will understand the analogy now that the Lord gives of the tortoise within the shell. This awareness is moving within our body, which is controlling everything. And what a Sthit Pragya person is doing is, he is only letting that awareness act out through this body with the objects outside this body for specific purposes. As in, a Krishna conscious person within this body will use this body only to use this world around us to serve Lord Krishna. Otherwise, the tortoise will pull its limbs inside. What that means is, the awareness level is going to pull my subtle body, which is mind and intelligence and ego, inside and not interact to the body, which is the Brahma the Pranamaya and Annamaya Kosh. He is not going to interact with that and through that with objects of senses. Maybe it was a bit confusing, but what I am trying to do is give you an understanding of when the Lord says we are the soul, we cannot be cut, what it means, how to develop that consciousness. And when the Lord says in verses 61 and 62 that as you contemplate on objects, then a sort of sense of attachment arises. Through that attachment, lust arises. From lust arises anger. From anger, there is loss of memory. From loss of memory, loss of intelligence. And when intelligence is lost, then we fall down in this material world. So what this means is now go back to the level of awareness, which is inside those 4 or 5 layers. Right inside, you are sitting. The moment you start to contemplate about eating, see, a thought around some food element has come into your mind. Then a thought about enjoying it will come. And now you can understand the progressive fall that happens of a soul that is Chit Pragya, fully inside, fully conscious that it is a soul. By contemplating some sense object, by developing an attachment to it, by having a liking to enjoy it, working to get it, frustrated if it doesn't get it, all of that is basically step by step fall from the awareness that I am the soul. And the moment I actually, get bewildered, my intelligence gets bewildered and acts out like a body, I've fallen into the material trap. That is what is meant when the Lord is explaining in verses 61 and 62. That is what is meant when the Lord says that a boat can be pulled into the throes of the ocean just because one of its sail catches its wind. So a soul or a Sthit Pragya person, a Samadhista person who's inside, who's basically at the soul level, the moment it lets its ear, its eyes, its nose waft and get a smell, hear some music, maybe think of some taste, then that boat is going to immediately sail and it will not remain moored to the shore. That is what the Lord is saying. Now you can also understand a very enigmatic verse that is there. I think it is verse 70, where the Lord says, those who are awake, uh, let me get the right words there. 270. No, not that. 269. या निशा सर्वभूतानां तस्यां जागर्ति संयमी यस्यां जागृति भूतानि सा निशा पश्यतो मुने. So, what is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is the night for the introspective sage. What the Lord is basically saying is, most of us are in the bodily consciousness. So that is the day for us. That is where we are acting in the bodily consciousness. We are asleep in the soul level consciousness. But a sadhu, a true sage, is awake in the soul level consciousness. That is his day. And he is asleep in the material universe. That is his night. He is not acting. He is still in the material universe, but he is very active at the soul level and very completely different for a bodily conscious person. Very active in the material nature. That is his day. Very asleep when it comes to being a soul. So that is how we can now understand or get into various glimpses of what the Lord is actually saying. It's a huge expand of knowledge, and therefore the chapter is rightly termed as the summary of Bhagavad Gita because it covers so many different things. I hope to have, progressively talked about, if you recall, how chapter 2 answers the questions of Arjun Maharaj that he had in chapter 1. I also gave you 3 different ways to remember chapter 2. One was the 5-way classification. So, it was basically the doubt, which is 1 to 10. Then Sankhya 11 to 30, Karma Kanda 31 to 38, Buddhi Yoga 39 to 53, and Sthita Pragya symptoms 54 to 72. Another way to understand this chapter, which is somewhat simpler in my mind, is just remember the word Gita, and G is for general confusion, verses 1 to 10. I is for our real identity, because in that identity crisis we can draw wrong conclusions and wrong sense of beauty and attachment to such beauties. So that I stands for identity, and the verses are 11 to 30. T is for two beauties, beauties as the body and beauties as the soul, from verses 31 to 53, and 54 to 72, which is basically Atma Rama state. So that is the Gita. General confusion, identity, two duties, and Atma Rama. The third one that you can understand chapter 2 through is the very simple way Prabhupada explained it in one of his lectures in New York, where he said that there are 2 traps in this material world. One is thinking that you are a body, and thinking once you are outside the sense of body, then thinking that you are the Lord of this universe. And how the Lord, in very first 2 verses, 2:11 and 2:12, destroys both these traps. So this is how we can understand this chapter 2. I spoke of this very essence of chapter 2 is that you cannot really understand it unless you think that you are the soul. So I tried to give you experimentation in understanding how you can think you are a soul, because once you start to think like a soul, you can truly unpack every shloka and get the rasa out of it. And the more you read like this, the better you will become, and the more enjoyment you will gain out of it, more, how do I put it? You will actually become very attached to this. It will become like a intoxicating thing. You will do it again and again. And it is the right way to do it. The reason is, just like only after learning ABCD were we told how to form words. And only after having learned how to write small words were we told how to write a sentence, and then a paragraph, and then an essay, and then a book, right? So it's a progressive thing. Similarly, this is that very first step, knowing that we are the soul. The whole Bhagavad Gita will open itself to you in different ways as you build on it. You cannot think of chapter 3 as a body unless you are actually aware that you are a soul, and you are aware that you are somewhere in that continuum of bodily consciousness and the soul level consciousness. You need to stack things up. It's like a Lego. This is the foundation. Every other shloka that is going to come in the rest of Bhagavad Gita, you cannot be not aware of the foundation. You have to always keep the foundation in mind. So then any question that comes to you, how to interpret that shloka, what is being said in the purpose for that shloka, will be much more clearer, much more meaningful if you don't lose sight of this foundation, which is in verses 1 to 30, which is basically that you are not this body, you are the soul. I hope I have been useful to you in explaining chapter 2, in summarizing chapter 2. I definitely must have made mistakes. I may have misquoted, I may have misstated things. So I ask for your forgiveness, and I'll ask all of you to please speak about your own realizations. Correct me where I was wrong. Ask questions if you have any. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this is Geeta. I really want to thank you for explaining this so important second chapter of the Gita. As they say, it is one of the most important chapters, and the fact that we have to realize that we are not the body. Prabhuji, on a daily basis, how do we break this down into experience when we are interacting with someone, or that we are a soul, we are in soul to soul? Because first we have to realize we are a soul, then only we'll be able to realize that the other person is also soul. So it's mainly a soul to soul connection. On a what I'm trying to understand is from a practical point of view and not theoretical. How do we, if we have some examples that do this and not that, what we are doing, so I mean, yes, we all know this in the Gita, but it's very difficult to when we still continue doing what we are doing. So how do we break this down into a practical experience? If we can do with one or two experiences, I don't know if we have any, it may help. Thank you, Prabhuji.
What a beautiful question, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So, uh, the first thing that Prabhupada actually says is, chant, uh, chant the Mahamantra. Because through that chanting, he's said it so many times in so many places, that through that chanting, you will slowly understand that you are not this body, but you are the soul. And once you get into that chanting where you are not really distracted by what is happening around you, and you are actually listening to your own words that are being chanted, those words are so powerful that it will slowly bring you that consciousness anyway, whether you want it or not. You don't have to know how it is happening. Just like when you get into a plane, you don't have to know how the plane is flying. You just get to your destination. Chanting is one such step that will take you to that destination. There are so many things that are happening in chanting. We may not even realize, even if we are chanting uh, unmindfully. So that is like, we all take bath. Do you remember how you took the bath, when you applied the soap to, different parts of the body, when you entered the shower and when you came out of the shower, all of that? No, we go through it mindlessly. But at the end of the shower, the body is clean. We know that the body is clean. Similarly, chanting is one thing that will do that. I'll answer your question, but I'm giving you the answers that Shastra gives, and even Bhagavad Gita is going to speak of. Then the second thing that we need to do is, in 9:26, the Lord says, "Offer me a little flower, a little fruit, a bit of water, a leaf, and that is enough." That breaks us from our bodily consciousness, our bodily routine, our things to do bodily, to doing it something for Him. Whether again we do it with full consciousness, with our full ability, because then if we do it with full ability, we don't have to offer one fruit. We can offer so many things, right? But that one small action is huge in terms of spiritual upliftment. So that is the second thing we should do. And then Prabhupada has prescribed for us the four don'ts and the four do's. So that's what we do. And that itself is good enough, Mataji, without trying to philosophize on this so much more. But to answer your question, because we all still, no matter when we say don't philosophize, we all will philosophize, because that's how our mind is today. The way you can think about this is, for yourself at least, the moment you are enjoying, can you say thank you? As soon as something good happens, as soon as you have enjoyed something, the reduce the time in being grateful to the Lord. So if I get a message that I have been promoted, oh, thank Lord. That immediate, instantaneous thing should happen. And it may not happen. Some days it may happen after a day. And you will say, oh, I should have thanked Lord, but I haven't done it. But at least you do it and start to reduce the time in being grateful for things that are happening to you. And when things that are not favorable that are happening to you in your daily life, try to think that He is helping me because I'm supposed to go through far more worse. Don't worry about soul, other person being soul and all that. That thinking will automatically come as you start to become from Kanishta to Madhyam to Uttam Adhikari. The Uttam Adhikaris are able to see it like that, truly. Even Vyas Muni had a little bit of discrimination. Shuk Maharaj did not have that discrimination. He actually saw everybody at the level of the soul. Therefore, the ladies who were having a bath in that pond did not flinch when he passed by. But when Vyas Muni passed by, they put their clothes on. So it is a very different level of understanding and thinking. We can start to get there. As I said, chanting is first. Offering bhoga to the Lord is second. Consuming that bhoga is third. Being grateful as soon as we can, because everything is because of Him. My next breath is because of Him. Just remember how grateful we should be. We don't, do you know how to control your own heart or its beat? No, He is the one who's doing it. So being grateful is that third thing that we should try to be every moment, every possible thing, situation that arises, and that will create our Krishna consciousness more and more. And when bad things happen again, realizing that He is there who's helping me. And how to realize that? I mean, the practical answer here is that He is actually helping, because otherwise, why would He be the super soul in my body, whether I am a worm in a stool or whether I am, Indra Gop or Indra? Doesn't matter. He is there in the hearts of both. So He is there to help us out. Otherwise, why is He there? So having that consciousness will help, Mataji. And then everything else will automatically fall into line, Mataji. Hare Krishna. I hope
Thank
that was a good answer.
Yes, yes. Thank you
That is
so much,
very
Prabhuji. The last thing that you said was also so beautiful. Why would he be there? Yeah. Thank you very much for the whole explanation as well. Very, very nice. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else with any questions, comments, any realizations, please? Okay, if there are no questions or comments, we'll end our class here. With our
Hare Krishna
prayers.
Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam. Thank you so much for this nectarine class and explanation of second chapter, summary of second chapter, and especially the lastly you answered Gita Mataji's question and gave the analogy of the flight. If we sit in the flight, just sit. If you want to go to any destination, we don't think a lot. So just we need to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra and just depend on Him for our destination. So that was a very wonderful analogy, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for explaining nicely. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I just wanted to say one thing. I mean, I'm really, really not qualified. I can speak big things. That's really another. I had huge doubts as to whether I should be giving this class or not. And then at the beginning of the class, one Mataji said that in the south, this is actually Janmashtami. You know, that was like the Lord said, okay, go ahead. I allow you to speak on my birthday.
Yes.
Just imagine how merciful He is. He is
Yes,
actually
Prabhuji.
saying, yeah, you are nobody, but I grant you. Yeah, go ahead, speak. And then afterwards, I hope whatever I spoken was Him inspiring me to say. So we'll end the class here with our prayers. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu
Guruvacha
pati